Isaiah says, if you do not stand firm in your faith, you will not be able to stand at all. And the principle that we find in today's story in Isaiah 7 is that faith is the key to our stability. King Ahaz was a terrible king. He sacrificed his sons on the fires of Moloch. He led Judah into sin. He did not trust in God. I mean, he was awful, awful person. And when the nation was invaded by the northern kingdom of Israel and another kingdom, he was completely overwhelmed. In fact, if you read this story in other books of the Bible, you find out that there was a massive defeat where over 100,000 men of Judah were killed, and tons of people from Judah were taken away into captivity. And so this is like the end of Judah. The capital is surrounded, everything else has fallen. And the story starts out saying that King Ahaz and the people, their hearts shook like trees in the wind. Now imagine that metaphor. These trees, everything is shaking. The leaves are being blown off. The branches are shaking. It's a huge contrast to the idea of the tree from Psalms 1, where the tree is planted by the water and it's green and it gives fruit in its season and it's big and strong and stable. These are like old rickety pine trees that are about to blow down. And despite the evilness of King Ahaz and the people, God sends Isaiah to give him a message of victory. Isaiah says, you don't have to be afraid of these smoking firebrands. And what that metaphor is talking about, he's talking about sticks that light things on fire. But the way he describes them is that they're smoking, which means they're not on fire anymore. Like, they're done. It's at the very end of their life. There's no power in these smoking firebrands. You see, Ahaz sees disaster, overwhelmed. There's no way I can win. And God sees smoking firebrands. And so Isaiah tells Ahaz, you don't have to fear about these guys. They're not going to win. They're done. I am calling it on them. No more fear from these guys. And Ahaz doubts. He doesn't believe. In fact, when Isaiah says, ask for a sign, ask for anything, Ahaz won't even ask for a sign. And this shows his lack of faith, because if he asks for a sign that it happens, then he has to believe, and he doesn't want to do it. In fact, when the story is over, if you read about it in 2 Kings and Chronicles, you find out that Ahaz took all the money out of the temple and he bribed the king of Assyria to come and rescue him, which later ends up destroying his kingdom. Like, it's an awful thing. He makes a deal with the devil to get the victory that God provided. And right in the middle of all that, Isaiah says, if you don't stand firm in your faith, you will not stand at all. If you're not firm in your faith, you will not be established. And Isaiah is sharing a universal principle here. God's going to win, whether you do the right thing or the wrong thing. But your blessing, your salvation, your peace and happiness depends on whether or not you choose to trust in God. I was reading through Psalms this morning, and I was reading in the Psalm 60s, and there's so many verses where over and over and over, God just says, like, I'm the source of your strength. Don't be afraid of people. Look to me. Find your strength in me. And Ahaz had rejected that. And when the chaos came, he was shaken like a leaf. But Isaiah, who did trust in God, walked up to this evil king with his very son next to him. He walked up to this evil king and he laid out the truth. You see, when we're afraid of other people, whether it's their opinions or their invading armies, when we're looking at them, we lose our strength and our grip on our destiny. But when we look up, when we trust in God, when we hear him tell us, these people you're afraid of, they're smoking firebrands. Don't worry about them. They're nothing. Then we were able to step into fearlessness. Now we are flying through this fearless devotional together. And what God is telling me over and over and over again is that the secret to fearlessness, the secret to courage is looking up. It's trusting in God. It's praising Him. And today, this promise that Isaiah gave an evil king thousands of years ago applies to you and me today. If we will stand firm in our faith, we will be established. We will be victorious. We will be fearless. Please share this video with someone who needs some encouragement today. If you'd like the free devotional, go to grantingraves.com and subscribe to this YouTube channel. I'm doing a video of encouragement every day. It's my little way to share the light and encourage you to look up and to remember that no matter what happens, God's got this. God bless.